Applebee's new grilled cheese cheeseburger is so cheesy.
Want to try the cheese pull?
Yeah. I can't believe you get this and another entree.
Plus an appetizer for just $25. That's why I always come to Applebee's for their 2 for $25 deal.
Limited time price participation and selection may vary. Tax and gratuity excluded.
You make decisions every day, but on PrizePicks, being right can get you paid. We're a month into the football season, and guys like rookie tight end Tyler Warren are taking the league by storm. Every week, I hop into my PrizePicks app to check his projections to see his upcoming matchup. It's incredibly easy and fun. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code DFS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code DFS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. It's good to be right.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers DFS and Betting Podcast with your hosts, Kyle Borganoni and Matthew Betz.
Welcome in. It's time to talk about the greatest team in the history of the universe. Borg Betz here, Fantasy Footballers DFS and Betting Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Borganoni, and I am joined, as always, by Matthew. Did you see that game, Betz?
I mean, we've said it before. We'll say it again. The Mercedes-Benz Superdome is impossible to walk into and win. Just ask Josh Allen how his Monday night went. Dude, that was a really fun game to be at. It must just be you. When you go to these island games and the crowd is swag surfing, I mean, good things happen in Atlanta. So congratulations on the win. I kind of had like the thought in the back of my mind. I was like, man, the Falcons might actually pull this off because I don't know if you were tracking anything while you were gone, but I think the line opened, I think it was 5.5. And like, as the day got going yesterday and, the day before, it kind of moved to, 4, then 3.5. I was like, man, everybody is backing the Falcons. What could possibly go wrong? But they know that home field advantage just means so much. So congratulations, Kyle, on the win. Big week for you on the trip. And then you come back and you celebrate with the big Falcons win in primetime. Fun week for you.
It was a good week. I was at the beach and, man, I played so much baseball on the beach with the boys. Alliteration aside, it was awesome. And then coming back and just representing, for my city, for ATL. I was just carrying my section. Just like I put them on my back and I said, guys, we can do this. I will need to give a couple caveats for the game. So it was really fun. Man, there's a lot of Bills fans. Like the whole time we're walking up, we're like, gosh, it feels like there's more Bills fans here. It was basically 60-40. Like 60% was Falcons. But when it was third down, I'm telling you, Bills fans, they showed out to the point I was like, God, they sound louder than us.
Oh, when the Falcons were on third down.
Yes, it was weird.
Not the best home field advantage in the NFL.
It's definitely not. It's definitely not. But yeah, it was a fun game where we said, hey, we have 2 really good players that we used top 10 picks on. Let's give them the ball 1 trillion times. And, not another Falcons wide receiver caught a ball. Pitts caught 2 and it didn't really matter. It was just Bijan. It was London. Anyway, fun game to go to. I missed a lot over the last week. I need to know, how did you survive without me on Friday's podcast?
I hung in there, Kyle. I have a new respect for people that host shows, which I played host for this one with Rich Rebar, and Rich was awesome, man. His takes were great. He was big on the Darnold to JSN run it back with Brian Thomas Jr., which was my best tournament team this week. I played that on FanDuel and I had a really nice week. So shout out to Reeves. But yeah, man, I'm not a host. I'm not the point guard. That's your job. And I definitely have a new respect for people that do that. But yeah, the Friday show was good, and I don't want to drag Rich through the mud too much. But he did ruin our perfect prop record on the show.
Oh, gosh.
So, and you know why? Because he took it over. Imagine doing that in this year. So, yeah, come on, Rich.
Okay, so we'll make sure that when we give our prop like it's hot on Friday, it never happened.
Exactly. Okay. I gave out Justin Fields under on his rushing, which we'll talk about the Jets. Goodness gracious. And he was on Justin Herbert to go over his. The process, they said, was right.
I will say that I got to watch a lot of football on Sunday because I was driving back on Sunday. So I had Red Zone going in my ears while I was driving back. So that was nice. Like it was really nice to be able to like know what's going on. I don't understand the cash slate. So you're going to have to explain this to me like I'm 5 years old because I did not play DFS. This is kind of my rule every year. I go to the beach for this weekend for our fall break and I play 0 DFS. I'm talking like I did not enter a single contest. I was tempted at the last minute, be like, ooh, I'm driving back. Maybe I should throw together a cash lineup. Nope. I did not know the slate, but what I hear is that like the boys, the crew that we've been talking about has done pretty well. So let's review.
Weekly Rewind.
So like Tyler Warren, Drake May, Chris Olave, Rico Dowdle, the boys, it sounds like they showed up.
It would have been your kind of slate, Kyle. It was like a very fun, like, these are the guys that we like and we get to play them. Like Drake May was, of course, in the cash conversation. A lot of people played either him or Trevor Lawrence. It was kind of an old school slate where we're so used to in previous seasons having to punt it off at tight end and defense and just kind of save money somewhere and then play, mid-range wide receivers and some strong running back plays. It was like the first slate I felt like that was actually tightly priced because we've had those weird, Mariota games where he's 4K and then we've always had a cheap running back last week or 2 weeks ago, I guess it was Dowdle. And then we had like Jordan Mason, even when Aaron Jones was out. Like we've had some cheap running backs. This is the first slate where you actually had to make some tough decisions. So at the top, it was a lot of Lawrence or Drake May. Both guys were totally awesome at their salary. At running back, it was weird because, again, there was like too many good running back plays. JT and CMC at the top. Then you fall down in there and it's like Javonte, Rico, Rashad White, again, we're kind of all in the cash conversation. And then at wide receiver, it was really tricky because it was like, do you spin up for Puka or JSN? And some lineups had both, which I did play. And then in the 5K range, it was like, man, Olave seems like such a good play, but we got that news Sunday morning that Quentin Johnson was not going to play, opening up potentially Keenan Allen, Kyle, which you would have played and lost money, or Lab McConkey, which I did play, and he had a nice week. So yeah, overall, I thought it was like a fun old school cash slate where everybody punted at tight end and defense. I was the cash line. I posted my lineup for everybody in Discord, like a mini cash review. I didn't write a full article like Kyle does, but it's in there if you want to check it out. And then on FanDuel, it was kind of the same thing. Lawrence at quarterback, those cheaper running back plays, and then Lad, Puka, and Stephon Diggs. So it was like I would say fun cash slate, but really challenging. Like this is the first week where you had to actually make tough decisions, which those are the ways I like to play. When it's a pick 'em and you can do whatever you want, and like even if you have a good lineup and you're just off by one player, you lose. Like I hate those cash weeks. So this is one of those weeks that I prefer to play, make those tough decisions, and really, I think that's kind of where our edge is.
Where did people go at tight end on the slate? Because like there was like Turd Ferguson, there was Tyler Warren. I was hearing some Kate Otten things.
Kate Otten in tournaments, not really in cash. In cash, everybody either played Hunter Long, who's 2,500.
Oh, really?
Stone Min, or Michael Mayer at 3,100.
Okay.
Without Brock Bowers. Those are the two popular ones.
It's so compelling to me to not know the ins and outs of like roster percentages for the week. I mean, I literally don't know anything. So I'm kind of like stumbling in, trying to figure out like, okay, this is why people went the way they went. I'm assuming there's a couple of like chalky wide receiver plays that did not go so well, like Egbuka, who, was injured, and that's just the way it is.
Rookie sensation, wide receiver out of Ohio State, Emeka Egbuka.
Nice. And then how did people, this is the game that I was most interested in, how did people handle the Dallas and Carolina game?
Yeah, to your point on the wide receiver injuries, real quick on that, Puka obviously left injured, Egbuka left injured, and so those two guys, who were both very popular in cash, you could like survive Puka if everybody else played him, which I think in double ups in my stuff, he was like 65%.
Oh, wow.
So you could still theoretically win with him. Obviously not having him healthy hurts, but he was another one. And then, yeah, Egbuka leaving early with the hamstring injury. As far as Carolina and Dallas, it was kind of unfortunate because I really wanted to play Tedero McMillan. He was my slate breaker on our pod. And, I mean, the variance hit 2 touchdowns, but he still only caught 3 passes. So, like, he was popular and he kind of got steamed up, but, like, wasn't really a separator. I thought the interesting thing with that game was that Javonte and Rico were both insanely popular. And Rico obviously did Rico things, which he is just apparently Barry Sanders, Walter Payton, Emmitt Smith, your favorite all-time running back. He's just been so good these last couple of weeks. And it resulted in Javonte failing. And I had some people ask me about that in my cash discussion in Discord, like, hey, we usually try to play just one running back from the same game. Why did you play both in cash? And for me, in cash games, that was just like, hey, these guys are too cheap for their projected opportunity and roles. Obviously we just have Miles Sanders on IR. Javonte's been getting everything. Rico got everything a week ago. We think he'll get it again in his revenge game. So just like median outcome, I thought both were awesome plays. But that is why in tournaments, we sometimes recommend, hey, if game scripts go weird, you could really kind of get stuck holding the bag if you play two of these guys in the same lineup. So I thought it was sharp if you picked just one of Javonte or Rico for those game stacks. I, unfortunately, in my small field one that I wrote up on the site, I picked Javonte and faded Rico in that game. So it was a terrible week for me. But yeah, that's kind of how the field played it. And surprisingly, not a ton of people on George Pickens. I think it was just a roster construction type of thing where, builds were like one of JSN or Puka and then like all the 5K guys that, those 6K wide receivers with Pickens being priced up, which he deserved to be, kind of just fell through the cracks a little bit. So Pickens obviously had a huge week. And, that game did go off as people expected.
You can if you want to. So like this is kind of how I'm trying to process the week because I didn't play, is I'm trying to reverse engineer how the field handled it based on roster percentages. And then just kind of look and say, okay, well, that was interesting. Like you said, George Pickens, like he wasn't played as much as he should, despite it being one of those games that people want to chase. So if you want to, if you're trying to figure out your process, if you're 6 weeks in, you're like, man, it's ups and downs. I've been right at 500 so far. Like I haven't had a great cash success. Tournaments, the weeks where I've gone off, so has everyone else. Like I had a team that hit 203 one week. It's like, oh, well, that wasn't that helpful because everyone else was hitting 240 or whatever it was to win a tournament. It's like you can reverse engineer stuff and just kind of pick that out. Now, don't use last week for week 7. It's a completely different slate. We'll talk about the games today, but make sure you're reviewing the process. I did want to mention a couple of things to celebrate with people. I did see some people. So I came back, and before I went to the Falcons game, I scrolled and I found some people that, let's just say they had a good week. Like I think that there were some spots where if you learn to play the game the right way, especially I see some of these in Showdown from last night, Chris Cash's article, if you looked at both games, Harry Ballman Jones looks like he got first place in a 10K Showdown. That's great. Also, I wanted to recap our props. If you have those numbers, Betz, I know you posted them. You try to be as transparent as possible. Do you want to give those numbers to people?
Yeah, we had another profitable week. Nothing crazy. I think it was plus 1.67 units, 9 and 6 on the week. And on the season, 42 and 33 for just over 5 units total of profit. So not having the insane season we had a year ago, but we talked all off season that was the expectation with some regression here. We've been pretty close, I think, to some really massive weeks. And that's the thing with these prop markets, right? Is like the edge is not the same as it was 3 or 4 years ago, even. So you're not going to see the same returns. That's just the truth and the reality of what we're doing. But yeah, plus 5 units on the year. We feel pretty good about that. Hopefully we can stack some wins here going forward again. And I did pull numbers on how we're doing on overs versus unders. And people always ask us, why don't you play overs? They're way more fun. Maybe we need to be better at what we're playing, but we are 7 and 13 on the year on overs. Not a huge sample, but not great. We were 35 and 20 on unders. So we've been trying to focus on those for a reason, and we'll continue to do so. But yeah, the prop market, I think in general, has gotten really, really sharp these last couple weeks and last couple years, really. And so just kind of reiterate, like, I think sometimes in sports betting and the fantasy space, like you see stuff on Twitter or in other Discords, it's like, oh, I had this huge win last night. We always win. They post their same game parlays and whatever. It's like, just full transparency, like you will not get rich betting player props because once you win, books will limit you. Then you have this whole thing of you need to open more accounts, and it kind of becomes this whole thing. Like, and the fact is, like, once you do start winning, you know, the edge isn't the same. It's just the way it is over years of different markets becoming more efficient. So full disclosure, like we always talk about transparency in this space is so key. That's where we're at. It's meant to be, I think, a supplemental add to what we're doing in DFS Pass and add more money in your pocket. But anybody out there just expecting that this is going to make you rich, unfortunately, it's not the case.
Yeah, we try to layer what we offer in the DFS Pass, dfspass.com if you are new or if you want to see everything. But like over the course of the season, we talk about NFL draft props that Betz and I get to give, like, March, April. We have best ball season that we think can be profitable for you, or at least it's a way over the summer to scratch the itch of fantasy football. And then once we get into the season, we think that the cash process and then tournament selection, if you're selecting the right contests, you can do well in DFS. And then we also have our prop bets. So we will give out some as we get closer. Betz and I, once we get to about the halfway season point, we have a couple of awards-based markets that are like, man, we're kind of feeling good about this. Or the market's so overconfident in this player for MVP or, coach of the year, those kind of things that we think we like to fire away on. I like the 3/4 of the way because everyone feels like it's a lock. And there is so much more chaos in the last 4 to 5 weeks of the NFL season than people realize. That gives you a chance for some of those MVP type markets. So all of those things together, we think are a beneficial thing. You get to learn the process. You get to be part of our Discord. So dfspass.com if you want some more conversation about that stuff. Let's take a break, and then we'll turn the page to week 7.
Okay, I have to tell you, I was just looking on eBay where I go for all kinds of things I love, and there it was.
That hologram trading card. One of the rarest, the last one I needed for my set. Shiny like the
designer handbag of my dreams. One of a kind. eBay had it, and now everyone's asking, ooh, where'd you get your
windshield wipers? eBay has all the parts that fit my car. No more annoying, just beautiful.
Millions of finds, each with a story. eBay. Things people love.
State of the main slate.
All right. Week 7, I am on board with this week. I'm going to be playing DFS this week.
Oh, good. Welcome back. We missed you.
It is. Okay, so the beach was great. The beach was really, really great because I'm talking like completely unplugged to the point of I had 2 days where I did not pick up my phone. And that may sound like, oh, wow, Kyle, you're such a great person to unplug. The punishment I got in my main fantasy league, I won't share this other places, was that I now have a new phone case for the week.
Uh-oh.
So my phone case of the week was this giant pink kind of Care Bear looking thing, but it also had the hair, this like hair that went over the camera. So the entire week, it was this gross phone case, okay?
So you had to have that because you lost.
No, well, here's the thing. We do weekly challenges. I was the furthest away from my projection of any team, and I got punished for it.
I mean,
I scored 160, and I got punished for it.
Don't you do this for a job or?
No. My team did so well that I got punished because I was the furthest away.
Oh, that's interesting. That's kind of a fun way to play it.
Oh, we have just weird challenges like that. Like, there's weeks like you can't do anything about your kickers, right?
I mean, it's like, Kyle, come on. We have schedule adjusted fantasy points, okay, on the site. Ask Spencer Schrader how that went.
Yeah, ask.
You injured Spencer Schrader, Kyle.
So anyway, for the entire week, I did not pick up my phone because I hated looking at it. And Emma goes, wow, I've never seen you more present before. I was like, yeah, it's because of this stupid phone case. Anyway, yeah, I'm here for week 7. We have some doozies, man. Like across the board, we have a really fun slate. Did you see that the Falcons back on primetime?
They know where to put the good teams, Kyle. We'll tell you that. There's no way they disappoint a week after being on primetime.
Can you explain to me, this is in our little chat. So, they look really good against the Bills. The defense looks great, by the way.
Does.
Number 1 in yards allowed in the entire league. How did this team lose 30-0 to the Panthers?
That is so funny, right? Like, there's always like
That's the NFL.
5 to 6 games every year where you're like, how did that even happen? Because the season is so long. It's short and long in 2 different aspects. Like, it flies every year, but also at the same time, like when we get to November and December, you think back to what happened in September, you're like, that was like a different lifetime ago. But yeah, every year there's just like weird upset wins and stuff like that happens that you're like, okay, cool. And I feel like that's going to be one of those. Like the Falcons, I think legit have a chance here to make the playoffs. But when we look back on their season and you go through their game logs and you see 30-0 against the Panthers, you're just going to ask yourself, how is this the same team that just knocked off the Bills?
Oh, we're going to be talking about that with the Browns and Packers game from a couple weeks ago. We're going to be like, wait a second. So Joe Flacco started the year on the Browns, then he went to the Bengals, and they somehow beat the Packers, and the Browns have like the number 1 overall pick.
Obviously, that makes sense, but I think the Jets are going to have the first pick.
Dude, that's
so
that
bad,
could
man.
be true. I feel so bad for Aaron Glenn because I think I like him as a coach. Head coach is a different conversation, but I like him as a coach, and yet, I mean, it's just painful. That game was painful. I watched that game on the drive back. Holy crap. What a fart fest of a game. Anyway, for week 7, the highest total game right now I'm seeing on the main slate is the Commanders and the Cowboys. Is at 54.5. Is that more of a testament to the Cowboys defense just stinks?
I think so. I mean, everybody that plays them, right, just runs it up. Obviously, we saw the Panthers and what they did this past week, so I think Jane Daniels is going to have an opportunity here to do the same. I think they'll probably get, I shouldn't say probably, I'm hopeful they get Terry back this week, but if you watch that game, like Jane Daniels, I mean, outside of Debo, who's not really 100% currently, like he's elevating just random guys off the street, right? Chris Moore and Luke McCaffrey and Jalen Lane, like what he has been able to do in his NFL career with the lack of like elite weapons is pretty impressive. So hat tip to Jaden Daniels. I know they lost that game, but yeah, I mean, obviously you have to feel excited about it. The only question is like, how popular is this game going to get? Because 54.5 and you get it in the Dome in Dallas. I mean, this one has DFS game stack written all over it.
Yeah, this is a game we would have played in 2020. Like that's the type of total that we're dealing with here. So I need to go back and watch. I obviously didn't watch any of the Washington and Chicago game because I was at the Falcons game. Do we know anything about CD? They had kind of talked about, or at least maybe it's more the media said this could be the game he returns. Any thoughts on that? Because I was looking at the pricing. He's 7,500. Pickens is 7,300. That little dynamic of CD's status is going to definitely shift a little bit of this game.
Yeah, so 2 weeks ago, he returned out of the boot and was doing like individual drills on the side. This past week, he was doing some more like, running, a little bit of cutting, stuff like that. So I think this week he's going to tell us a lot about his availability to play as far as what he's doing Wednesday, Thursday in practice. If he's not doing team drills by Thursday, I'd be very surprised if he plays. But if he's, like limited Wednesday and then full Friday, like obviously there's a good chance he comes back this week. So I think there's a decent chance that he returns, but we'll have to wait and see till later in the week.
All right, so that game is at 54.5. That's head and shoulders above the rest. There are only 10 games on this slate, if I'm counting correctly. 1, 2, 3.
That's correct.
Yep, 10 games. Because we have another London game, Rams and Jaguars, and then a doubleheader on Monday night. How do you feel about the doubleheader on Monday night?
I don't mind it, especially when it's like last night and they're both kind of around the same time. Some people don't like that, but this week is worst case scenario for us on the East Coast.
This week is terrible. And then on top of that, one game sounds really awesome, right? Lions and Buccaneers. And the other one is like, Seahawks and Texans. That one's at 40.5 right now. So the viewership is going to be a little different.
Well, it also doesn't start till I think it's like 10 Eastern.
Oh, no chance I'm staying up for that.
So that's not ideal for the East Coast crowd out there. But I don't mind the double Monday night slate. I feel like they're overdoing it though. Like maybe like 1 or 2 per year. This is like what, the 3rd or 4th one we've already had?
Yeah. No, definitely not in on that. Give me the teams with the highest implied totals for week 7.
At the top, we have KC and Washington, 28.5. Chicago and Dallas next at 26. Then the Packers, 25.5. The Chargers at 25 points. And the Patriots, 24.8.
In terms of the most popular game, you brought up Washington at Dallas. I know we're going to cover that on Friday's podcast because there's just so many different angles to take for that game. Even a little, if you wanted to go that direction. Little Bill. Man, Bill's actually popping. I'm looking right now at our metrics that are in the DFS pass. Yards before contact, yards after contact. The dude's a menace. He's kind of priced up, though, compared to what he used to be.
I was interested last night to see like how he would play, where it was like his first not real opportunity to be the bell cow, but like, even last week, he didn't have like a huge role. I think he had 14 carries 2 weeks ago. But then last night, like, of course, it was a 2-game slate for DFS, so everybody played him because he was cheap. And, Rodriguez was injured, Terry McLaurin's out, all those things. And you get the Bears defense, which has struggled against the run. The Bears did play a much better run defense last night, relatively speaking, of course. This week they get Dallas. Dallas can't stop anybody currently. I'm looking back at kind of their point totals and what's been scored on them. Obviously, in week 1, we had that weird game against the Eagles where Philly only put up 24 points, but the Giants hung 37 on them. The Bears, 31. The Packers in overtime, 40. The Jets, 22. And then the Panthers this past week, 30. So there's a pretty good chance you're going to see 24 plus points from Washington. And, Bill obviously has some touchdown equity here. So I do like him early in the week. We'll have to wait and see how popular he is. I feel like guys like this, even when the projection isn't like perfect on these guys, as far as like value rating and stuff, they still have like this name value and like the fantasy community loves them. So they get a little extra boost in roster percentage. So we'll just have to wait and see how popular he is.
Did the line surprise you at all that Washington is favored by 2.5?
Not really. It's just Dallas's defense.
On the road.
Not surprised.
Okay. I think another game that people are going to go to is also in the late window, so it's kind of interesting, is the Colts traveling to Los Angeles to play the Chargers. The total's at 48.5. Lots of fantasy relevant names. We know the Colts have been awesome. Right now, they're the number 1 seed in the AFC. Just a weird sentence to be able to say. I will say this about the Chargers defense. It's a run funnel. They're allowing the second highest yards before contact. Jonathan Taylor is priced up, $8,800. Still not expensive enough when you look around the slate and you go, well, CMC's not on this slate. I think that price is fine. That price does not bother me at all. Even when you look at our weighted opportunities, you divide that by the salary, it's still up there. It's above 3. So that's going to be a really fun game. Any initial thoughts on Indianapolis at the Chargers?
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see, too, on some injury situations here. Obviously, on the Chargers side, Quentin Johnson missed this past week's game, so some people immediately funneled into Herbert double stacks because it was so clear that if you're going to double stack him, you play him with Ladd, you play him with Keenan. So we'll have to wait and see on QJ's status there. Obviously, if he is out, then Ladd and Keenan will get a bump as well.
Which game do you feel like is the sneakiest for week 7?
So I'm going with the Bears and the Saints, which like on the surface, Saints games don't feel like they should be great for DFS, but they're almost always cheap, right? We talk about Olave every week. Rashid Shaheed's a fun dart throw sometimes. They're always cheap. And then you look at the Bears and kind of what they've done. They very quietly have hit their team total every single week so far this year. Their games are 3-1-1 to the over, and we know on the Saints side of things, we can at least count on the pace of play from Kellen Moore on the offense. So I'm pretty interested in that game. I wish it was in the Dome down in New Orleans. It's at home in Chicago, which sometimes weather can be a concern. So we'll have to wait and see on that stuff. But initially in the week, that one stuck out to me as a potential sneaky spot.
All right, I put the Raiders at the Chiefs. This totals at 45.5. The Chiefs are favored by 11.5. Okay, Mahomes is dealing. He's the most expensive quarterback on the slate. And we get Rashee Rice back, which will be the conversation we have when we get to salary standouts, because everyone's waiting to play him, and his price is telling us we want to play him, we should play him. But Kansas City's defense, they have the highest pressure rate over expectation. I think there's an opportunity here if you want to stack up the Chiefs side. I mean, their implied total is the highest on the slate, that you could find a Raiders player to run it back with and get some garbage time production. Trey Tucker, Jacoby Myers, one of those. It's not a great spot for Genty. Could be another Michael Mayer week. But I like this game the way that it's setting up. And also, spoiler alert, this is our early favorite. Man, we didn't even get to talk about this.
Well, if you take a look at this, I tented my pants.
For our survivor pick, right now, we're leaning into the heavy favorites. So last week it was the Packers. Really glad you locked that in early, Betz. I didn't have to think about it the whole week. And right now, the Chiefs is like on our roadmap for the rest of the season for Survivor Pool. I like the Chiefs.
Double-digit spread? Favored? At home? Seems like a good pick. I always get nervous with divisional matchups. I'll say that. But, yeah, the Raiders, like, it's great they won against the Titans. What does that even mean? Like, the Titans are just a disaster. So, yeah, KC coming off an emotional game in primetime. They come back home here. They stay home, rather. And they really did seem like they were just like clicking finally offensively in that game. Rice comes back. Hopefully that's a good thing, right? Mahomes has been playing at a really high level, I would say, overall. And the thing that's interesting about this spot for the Chiefs is now you get an interesting spot where you could actually maybe see them running the ball with a little bit more success. Like they kind of looked okay with Pacheco at times. And if they can just get something out of the run game, doesn't have to be incredible, but just something to make them like respect that part, then Mahomes can go absolutely berserk. So let's go Chiefs. Just win this game. It did get a little dicey at the end with the Bengals. I was hoping just to not even have to put that game on the TV and just kind of like tune it out. And in the fourth quarter, it definitely got a little dicey.
Dude, what the heck? The Packers, I played their defense in a couple home leagues. I was like, man, that's such a terrible outcome.
Yeah.
For a team that was favored by that much. But the way that we're dealing with Survivor Pool, we'll give our official pick later on this week, is that we're running through the part of our schedule where we were less chalky at the beginning. And so some of these teams that are heavy favorites, we can kind of lean into right now. Packers last week, Chiefs this week. We'll give the roadmap for the next couple weeks. But I'm not going to lie. I think this might be one of my new favorite things we're doing, period. We might even give next year maybe some content, maybe some written stuff related to it.
Okay. I like where we're going with this.
It's fun.
Next thing you know, Kyle's going to be giving out his lock of the week in terms of spreads and totals. He says no.
Did Andy give an almost upset pick? I didn't listen to any show, so I don't know anything.
I'm sure he did. I don't even remember what it was, to be honest.
All right. Well, I'll ask my boss later.
Yeah.
Which game do you want to be underweight on for week 7?
Let's talk about the Jets. Goodness gracious. So it's Carolina and the Jets. The over-under is 42.5. We're not going to have Garrett Wilson in this game, so I'm going to give you I'm going to talk about the Jets in totality. I'm taking under 21 on their team total. Garrett Wilson accounts for almost a quarter of the team's total yardage. If they cannot run the ball, which Carolina is like not an elite run defense, but compared to last year, they are good, which again, that's a low bar to clear. They're actually number 1 rush success rate allowed this year is Carolina. Now, they've had some matchups where teams have kind of struggled to run the ball and things like that. Like the Dolphins can't really run on anybody. But still, they're number 1 rush success rate allowed. If you give Justin Fields the crew of Josh Reynolds, Mason Taylor, whoever else you want to throw out there, Breece Hall is clearly not happy with where he's at in terms of being with the Jets. And they can't really run the ball with a ton of success. How does this team do it? And I know you mentioned I like Aaron Glenn as a head coach. He looks beyond lost.
I like him as a defensive coach, not a head coach.
He looks beyond lost on the sidelines. I don't know if you watched the totality of the London game, but they ran right before half, they ran a fake punt.
I saw that.
You put Breece Hall in for the fake punt as the protector. Do you not think the other side is going to say, hey, here comes Breece Hall into the game for a punt? That looks weird. Wonder what they might do here. Of course, they snap it to him and try to run for it. Then they actually get the first down, and they just look completely like, oh, we weren't expecting to actually convert there. What do we do now? And they just let the time run down. It was just, he's just not, it's not happening currently. I think he's going to be a one and done in New York. That's the way it seems like it's going. I feel like the locker room is lost at this point. The vibes are so bad. Garrett Wilson screaming at him on the sidelines. Literally the worst thing that happened for this team was the almost win of the Bucs. The dance on the sideline and hey, we almost won a game. It has been
since that moment
so bad. Even Sauce Gardner, who is largely in the league considered one of the better corners, shutdown corners, it's been average this year. They just don't have it. And so, yeah, you get Carolina who's playing with confidence and a Jets team that won't have Garrett Wilson. Justin Fields, and this is the other thing about the Jets too, you cannot go into the season and this plan saying, hey, we're going to have a run game that's really effective and dynamic with Justin Fields and have an elite defense. If you thought you had an elite defense with what's happening right now and that was going to be your plan, somebody missed the boat. It is so bad in Jets country. It is over for this season. They're going to have the first overall pick. It's a disaster. So give me Jets under 21 and give me this game I want to be underweight on. I might bet the Panthers, Kyle. I don't bet sides and totals. I might bet the Panthers.
It's bad. And it's really bad considering with Garrett Wilson gone, there might be some garbage, production that someone's going to try to sift through the trash and say, hey, I'm going to play Mason Taylor, or I'm going to find a Jets wide receiver. Arian Smith, if you just sort by who's been the worst in fantasy points per route run, in targets per route run, literally the worst
John
of any
Ralphio?
player that we. Yes, John Ralphio. That's how bad he's been. So I'm with you. We talked about this on the Dynasty podcast. I know we're just dudes talking football here. What was the plan at wide receiver other than Garrett Wilson? They paid him this offseason, but what was the plan?
They didn't have one.
They literally came into the season saying Josh Reynolds, Lazard, and a 4th-round pick, which was honestly a reach. You know, I watched a lot of Georgia football. Like, Arian Smith is not a player that you want to build around. Just bad. So, yeah, they're going to be picking very high. I think I want to be underweight on Arizona and Green Bay. Both teams are bottom 10 in terms of pace, seconds per play. I will not be chasing Jacoby Brissett volume production when we, one, don't know anything about Marvin Harrison Jr. And I think Green Bay gets their stuff together this week. It shocked me that their defense did not create the amount of turnovers and sacks that, Joe Flacco. But Joe Flacco was just getting the ball out super fast at the beginning of the game. So I think this is a game that I just don't want a ton of pieces. Like, there's cheap pieces on the Arizona side if you want like a Bam Knight. Not as cheap as it used to be. It's like Trey McBride. I'm not going anywhere else on the Cardinals side. And then it's like Josh Jacobs and where else are you going to go? So I think it's a game I want to be underweight on.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And I think there were some people out there that were pretty excited about, like, you could play Jordan Love and just hope that even if he doesn't throw, 35 pass attempts here, like, he's just so efficient and they score 35 points because it's the Bengals. And like we talked about in previous shows, like, just historically, when they are with a lead, like, they're content to kind of just play slow and feed Josh Jacobs and not push it, even though Jordan Love did have a couple of nice plays. Like, I thought it was overall a pretty disappointing performance from Love in the pass game. But yeah, this does look like another Josh Jacobs spot on paper.
Which team are you most confident hitting their over of their implied total?
I'm going with the Bears, over 25.5. Now, I hope DJ Moore is healthy for this game. We don't even know exactly when we're recording this what happened.
We have no clue other than he went to the hospital.
Right, and stayed overnight in D.C., did not fly back with the team. So we're still waiting on news there, but I still like the Bears. They've hit their team total in every game this year. And like I talked about earlier, we know the Saints will play with pace, and opponents have hit or exceeded their team total against New Orleans in 4 of 6 games so far.
Are they the only team that's done that? Because I do the same thing. And if you are ever curious, you can search by the team profile pages on the Footballer site. Like, from what I'm seeing, I think they're the only one that's hit their implied total every week.
I haven't looked, but I'd be surprised if that's not the case.
It's a fun little factoid. Way to go, Ben Johnson.
Go Bears.
Yeah, I mean, they haven't crushed it. Let's be honest. Like, they've like barely hit it a couple times, but I think this is a good spot for them. I'm going to say Seattle. I'm going off the main slate. I know we talked about that game on Monday night, the late one. They're 3-point home favorites. Their implied total is just 21.8, but they're averaging 28 points per game. They've hit the over in 4 of 6. Houston's defense, they're coming off the bye. You might say, oh, that's a really tough group. The last 2 weeks have actually inflated a lot of their stats. The last 2 weeks, they played Cam Ward and Cooper Rush. Those are not NFL quarterbacks this season. Maybe Cam Ward eventually becomes that. But the first 3 weeks of the season, they were 22nd in yards before contact allowed, and they allowed the second highest zone rush success rate. No team in the NFL has run more zone-based plays than Seattle. I like Seattle at home. I think they're in a good spot. Any initial takes on that game of just the spread?
What is the spread? 3 points?
3-point home favorites.
I think the injuries on the defensive side in terms of Seattle in the secondary might matter a lot. If they can get a couple of those guys back, I do like Seattle in that spot.
Yeah, it's 22 points if they hit their implied total. Which team are you most confident hitting the under this week? Oh, wow, the Jets.
Yeah, I already gave the spiel on them, but yeah, give me the under 21.5 on Jets.
I'm going to stay in New York and say the Giants. I know that they punched your team in the mouth. I was watching that. We had a guys' night where, like, me and the guys got to go to a couple different places and watch the game. We watched a lot of playoff baseball, and we were like, man, what is happening here? And it's like Dart could do no wrong in the pocket.
Did you see what Wandale was calling him in the interview afterwards? Vanilla Vic.
That was a Danny Dimes nickname, right?
I don't know, maybe, but yeah, the Giants, they're frisky with Dart back there. Like, he extends plays, keeps the down alive. Like with Russ, it's deep ball or nothing. And with Cam Scatterbo having the physicality in the run game and what he's doing, like they're a fun team. Speaking of another team that's just like circling the drain, like the Eagles look absolutely atrocious. They are one of the worst defenses in the NFL, which is crazy because they were so dominant last year. They also lost, I don't know if you realize in that game, Quinyon Mitchell to a hamstring injury.
I saw him on the sideline.
Yeah, huge issue because they don't have a cornerback too currently. And then Jalen Carter was out because of a heel injury. Like, if those guys can't get healthy soon, their defense is in trouble. But real quick, on the Giants, it does kind of feel like maybe a team that you think you can pick your spots with, where like you'll see some ceiling performances, then all of a sudden you'll be like, oh yeah, it's still the Giants. Rookie quarterback, inexperience, all those things. So I don't mind this at all. Like, that makes sense.
Yeah, I think this is where the Dart Scatterbo like experience it hits a wall right here. Opposing quarterbacks. So first off, we know the Broncos are one of the top teams across the board in defense, top 5 in pressure rate. But opposing quarterbacks are throwing to their first read at the highest rate in the NFL when they are pressured. So you basically have to have faith in Mike Kafka, Brian Daboll coming up with a game plan against the Broncos to be able to counteract that. And I just think Lil Jordan Humphrey is not going to be able to do it once again.
Lil Jordan, he was a pretty big piece of the showdown slate. The other thing about the Broncos matchup, which is why I faded Fields last week, is they've been so good against mobile quarterbacks. They held Jalen Hurts to like nothing. Justin Fields went under his prop. Daniel Jones didn't do anything against them. Like, they've actually held some pretty legit scrambling and rushing quarterbacks to minimal production. And if you lose that piece of the Dart game, and like you said, and they force them to stay in the pocket, that's where you could see some things kind of fall apart.
All right, so you're telling me early in the week I need to put in a reminder to figure out what Jackson Dart's rushing line is this week and potentially take the under.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, I see an early line, and I want you to try to guess what it is. This is a fun little game of the podcast.
The last couple weeks, it's been like 35-ish and a half. So I will say 33 and a half.
I'm seeing right now 43 and a half.
Okay, well, there's your first play of the week.
Let's go ahead and you can get that rolling.
Can I read you the rushing lines they've had?
Yeah.
So Cam Ward in week 1, not surprising, not really a huge scrambler, no yards. Daniel Jones, 6 carries, 2 yards. Justin Herbert, 2 carries, 6 yards. Jake Browning, okay, he's a pocket passer and whatever. Jalen Hurts, 2 carries for 3 yards. Justin Fields, 7 carries for 31 yards. Seems like a just play it until they prove you wrong kind of thing at this point.
Yeah, this is here's what he's done the last 3 weeks. So we have to put his line somewhere because, it was that first game, 54. Then he hit, dang it, where's this drop? Come on, Kyle. 55! And last week, 58. So they had to put the line somewhere up there, but 43 and a half. We've been buried before with Jackson Dart rushing, but I think an under is definitely one that we would take there. Let's take a quick break, and then we will be right back.
Salary standouts.
All right, so I feel like I've reset my mind. I'm looking at week 7. I'm looking at the salaries. Who stands out to me? So whatever happened last week doesn't matter. We do get some interesting little Monday Night Football pricing glitches, which we'll talk about with DeAndre Swift, where it's like, oh, did somebody just forget about him? Or, they set the prices beforehand. He has a big game. Anyway, lots of discussion here. There's only 10 games, so there's a little bit more of a condensed slate. At quarterback, I see a lot of, for tournaments, I'm really excited to play this slate because Mahomes is the highest priced quarterback at $7K, and he has the highest implied total. Right below him is Jaden Daniels, who's in the same boat. And then you have the awesome spots for Dak Prescott, Justin Herbert, Daniel Jones are in the same game. Drake May, you can play any week. Caleb Williams is way too cheap. So, there's so many different directions you can go at quarterback.
Yeah, for sure. And I was excited to come on and be like, oh, sweet, we get Fields at 5,700, and you could take on a Panthers defense that, like I mentioned, they've been better, but they still can't rush the passer. I mean, you think about when Fields has really struggled, it's under pressure. Well, now Garrett Wilson, it's like, I don't know, if you play him, you're just hoping he runs for, 50, 60 yards and touchdown. So I think Fields will still make my player pool, when we get to tournament discussions. I have a really hard time going there in cash this week if there's no Garrett Wilson. So Caleb right above him looks great, like you said. I really like Jaden in this spot for obvious reasons. And I think you'll see a ton of Jaden in cash. Just my early take, especially on FanDuel where you can pay up for quarterback. I think he's going to be the play this week.
Yeah, I don't have any strong takes earlier in the week because like I just mentioned, 5, 6, 7 guys that I'm super interested in. So at running back, we have the Rico discussion at 6.8 against the Jets, who I don't know if you heard Betz discuss them on this podcast so far. Not a big fan. Not a big fan of the Jets.
Great team.
6.8 is a different conversation, though. And we still have to figure out what Chuba's going to do. That whole discussion. Dave Canales was like, well, we'll see. You know, Rico, he's been okay. So any early thoughts about Rico?
It does seem too expensive at first glance when you look at what he's done at his salary historically and his usage, which is obviously the most important thing. I think it's fair, especially in this matchup when you think about the Jets. So yeah, I think Rico is going to be one of the chalky plays on the slate if we get no Chuba again. And as of now, it looks like, we probably won't know that information until Friday's show. But yeah, I think you should make the player pool at least to start the week.
I think one of my favorite plays early in the week is Quinshon Judkins. I feel like the price is totally fine at $6K. He's at home against the Dolphins, who have just been gashed over and over and over again on the ground. So he's going to profile pretty well when you look at points per dollar and you look at his opportunities and the way that they're utilizing him. So Judkins is probably one of my early favorites. I'm looking at weighted opportunities per game. He's up there with, some of the other names. DeAndre Swift, 5.7. This was priced before, and he looked awesome. From the highlights that people showed me. Now, I haven't watched the game film, but do you think he's going to get clicked a ton?
I think so. He's just too cheap kind of for what he just did, obviously, in prime time, but also it's a good matchup with the Saints, and we talked about that team total, and we talked about that game environment, so I do like Swift early in the week. He is also, relatively speaking, comparing like value overall on FanDuel, he kind of sticks out. He's 6,300, which is sometimes what you see for committee backs at pricing. So he's going to be, I think, insanely popular this week, but it's hard to argue with that at that salary.
What do you think people will do with Kamani Vidal, who's now at 5,500? Had a big game, but this is a little bit of a different contest against the Colts. The DFS dynasty region, everybody's obsessed with whoever the backup running back is. I want to play them. And now I know that they're for sure thing. If you did that with Michael Carter this past week, you were completely burned. So he's at least interesting this week.
He is. It's tough to know how, what the usage will be moving forward. Obviously, he played great in this game, but you're still going to see plenty of Hassan Haskins on the field. I don't know what the split will be. We're going to have to try to figure that out specifically, but I think he's okay. I'm hesitant to believe that what we saw last week is now going to be the new norm moving forward. Although I will say, Kyle, as somebody who took way too much of him last year in best ball, never wrong, just early.
I can't wait to bring those tickets, just to reply to Underdog, just forward all my receipts from last year and just say, hey, where's my Kamani Vidal money?
You just submit all your losses, but also then you just print out the box score and just submit it with that in an envelope.
That's how fantasy should work.
Right.
That's probably people are taking victory laps for that. The expensive guys, there will be some tough conversations this week. Jonathan Taylor, 8,800. Devon Achane at 8,100. Dude, this is a crazy, crazy stat. He is seeing 18% of the team's first read targets. For a running back, anything over 10% is bonkers. So you are getting wild usage, and CMC is not on the slate. So I don't fault anybody. I know it's the Browns matchup. I won't be playing Achane and Judkins probably in the same lineup in cash, but Achane is more than just a running back at this point. He's 8,100. Josh Jacobs, 7,800. Also very interesting. Saquon. What the heck do you do there?
Formerly known as Saquon. I don't know, dude. This isn't a good team right now.
I can tell you right now, he's going to be one of those plays that I write up in tournament takes on Saturday and go, okay, if nobody's going to play Saquon, I will play him in a tournament.
Yeah. We'll see.
Just super done. Man, what a wild turn of events where I am used to just wallowing in the poop that is my team. And things could not be better. Josh Allen, who is that? Who is that guy?
Kyle, it's been a tough week, man. It's been a long week.
Man, I had a great... I leave for a week. I come back. Falcons are toast of the town.
Eagles look dysfunctional. The Phillies lost on a
that was
horrible, horrible air that you see in like Little League, at times. Penn State's like the laughing stock of college football. So it's been a great week for me, Kyle. It's been awesome.
Wait, so that was all on the same night, right? Phillies, Eagles, and Flyers, right?
They all lost. They all lost last Thursday. And then, of course, we had the Eagles lose the Sunday prior to the Broncos when they were up 2 scores in the fourth quarter. And, Penn State was, I think it was 24.5-point favorites.
Oh, dude.
Against UCLA.
I didn't even check in about Penn State stuff.
Oh, it's going to be a long couple years for sure. They've had a lot of 4- and 5-star recruits already decommit. So it's going to be a long couple years. But then they were 21.5-point favorites against Northwestern, lose both those games outright. So, yeah, it's I'm hoping the Flyers turn it around.
Franklin's got a nice little payout, right, to just not do anything.
$50 million.
Dude, what a wild, like, industry.
I know,
to
right?
be able to say, we hate you so much. We hate you. We hate you. Here's $50 million.
Imagine any other profession being like, hey, you didn't live up to the standards that we had hoped, so we're going to cut this thing early. Here's your check. But here's the thing. It's $50 million.
Dude, do you think that, like, you and I obviously do heavy negotiations with HR. I mean, we're talking days on end.
Sliding the
we're
sticky
bringing
note
up that
across
stuff.
the desk.
Yeah. Do you think that maybe, like, you and I can just fly out to Arizona and just have a closed door meeting, and all it is just like, hey, if you hate us one day, if you really think that we're the worst, can we like have like a little buyout contract?
I think you have to lead the conversation, but we could do it like Step Brothers style, where we both go in at the same time in our tuxedos. And
it's like we end up like walking away with just like a little bit of like footballers memorabilia. We're like, cool, that works.
That's fine. I'll take a t-shirt.
No, if I was telling some friends at the beach, I was like, you know what? I'm cool if this is like my last job. Let's just do that. Let's just do that for the next 15 years, and then just be done.
You could just win the $1 million and retire.
I've said that before, and you know that I would be right back on this podcast.
Absolutely.
I think I would retire from DFS then.
No, you wouldn't.
Yeah, on top.
No way, dude. There's no way. The second we get a backup running back and like a 4th-string tight end at 2,500 in the cash pool, you're right back in. You can't help yourself.
Yeah, you're right. I need a punt tight end in my life. All right, let's go to wide receiver. We've got a couple more positions here for salary standouts. Wide receiver, I mentioned the Cowboys. Circle them in your player pool. We'll figure out with CeeDee Lamb later on in the week. He's 7,500. Pickens, 7,300. But I think the big discussion this week is going to be Rashee Rice and what you do with him at 5,600. There's a couple schools of thoughts here because the Kansas City offense has looked really, really good. Let's say that they have been farting around. The narrative you would hear is like, oh, they need Rashee Rice to be the key cog of the offense. It seems like the driver of this offense has just been Mahomes, and Mahomes just playing out of his mind. So at this price, I'm fine with playing him. Like normally I'd go against any narrative that people are going to give me, but at 5,600 against the Raiders, he's just going to be a very easy click and cash. I think you will get to use that as leverage in tournaments though.
Yeah, he will be insanely popular this week. Hard to say it's not fair given the price tag and what he's done historically. But we'll have to have that conversation for tournaments later in the week. I think for cash, he's one of the first guys you kind of put on your list. I will say on FanDuel, he's not in the player pool yet, so we're going to have to wait and see what his salary is when they add him, but he is not currently available in the FanDuel player pool.
Derek from FanDuel, get your stuff together.
He was also at the beach this past week, so.
I didn't see him. Not at the beach, not with my crew.
He's not one of us. He's not with us.
Dude, have you ever set up a Nesso tent? You know what those are? Not a sponsor.
No, what are
There's
they?
those tents that you you bury the sandbags, and then it just kind of this really loose kind of tent thing that it gets set up.
Never heard of that.
I every single day, that's what we'd set up. We'd set up 2 of them for our crew. And it was work. My whoop was thinking you are doing some workout. Because it takes 20, 30 minutes to get those set up.
Not all heroes wear capes, Kyle. I'll tell you that.
Dude, my score was still looking great despite being at the beach.
Were you working out?
No, but I was playing baseball and digging holes.
Okay. That counts.
I thought I was doing pretty well. So Rashee Rice, Chris Olave, we need to just copy and paste everything we've ever said. Still showing up in all the metrics as the dude. He leads this entire slate in expected fantasy points per game.
He actually had a nice game last week.
I'm proud of him. I just feel like he'll never score a touchdown.
I don't want to take Andy's thunder here, but it sounds like you just gave us a touchdown guarantee for this week.
I didn't say it, but it's tough. But yeah, for a full PPR site, 5,400, he's going to look really, really great. I do want to wait on later in the week to figure out what we're going to do with the Bears. If DJ Moore's out, Rome Odunze's at 6.6, and then our boy, Luther Burden III, or you can call him Lou Bird, or Pooper Turden III is another one that you can call him, 4,300. He had his highest route participation of the entire season this past week on Monday night. He's at least interesting, but I think either of those Bears need to be in the conversation.
Yeah, it makes sense. We'll figure out what's going on here with DJ Moore as the days go on.
All right, anything with the Chargers wide receivers? I know Quentin Johnson missed this past week. Ladd McConkey's now 6K. My boy Keenan Allen down at 5,500. I think they're both in play against the Colts this week, and we'll wait on Huge information.
Yep, and then you can also throw Alec Imanor in your player pool as a cheap guy, 4,200. Ridley left with a hamstring injury this past week. Did you see Van Jefferson was on the field quite a lot in this game? And so I'm hopeful the books might give us some props here on our boy. Is there, maybe you know this, Kyle, is there data that shows teams and players after the coach is fired, do they have a rebound in the first game or two after that happens? I feel like anecdotally that makes sense in my head, but I don't know if that's actually a thing.
Brother, you need to log on to X and see what I posted this morning. Because I had the exact same thought, and I will give it to you right now. Here's the cold hard data. Since 2020, teams are 10-4 versus the spread the week after firing their head coach. Tennessee, right now, they are currently 7-point home dogs. And then if you go back even further to 2014, those teams are 16-6 against the spread.
Wow, we just gave out our first spread play of the year.
So, okay, I'm glad that you brought this up because you're good at this. You can hear me give this data and you go, okay, well, here's what you could mean. This is what happened to these rando interim head coaches, the Jeff Saturdays of the world. Remember he had that one win?
I do.
Your boy Saturday, and got the win. Or who could forget Raheem Morris when he was the interim coach of the Falcons and he won. Now he's the head coach, but all of these dudes, Darren Rizzi, remember the Rizzler last year?
Oh, the Riz. Love that guy.
The Rizzler came in and beat my Falcons last year when he was interim head coach. They get a little bump historically based on the data. However, what Darren Rizzi did last year or Jeff Saturday has no bearing on what the Titans actually do this week in a revenge game with Mike Vrabel. I just need to point that out.
Yeah, but what about Antonio Pierce back in 2023 when he beat his Giants?
That's true. That was a big deal. See, this should be reversed. If this was Mike Vrabel stepping in, so Vrabel's just going to wipe the floor this week. That's my advice.
I think probably. We're going to find out a lot, though, about that team and how much they believe or didn't believe in Callahan. And if they play inspired, good football, I wouldn't be surprised. But yeah, like you said, just because that happened historically doesn't mean it will happen this year.
I was looking at Tony Pollard because I haven't looked at his way the entire year. I was like, man, he's really cheap.
He's losing work to Spears.
Okay. Well, then good. I didn't even want to look his way ever again.
Yeah, don't.
I won't even mention his name. Let's go to tight end. It's the boys, the people we've been talking about. Jake Ferguson is 5.5 against Washington. He's going to get clicked a ton. Tyler Warren, every single week, 5.2. The thing about Warren is he's been scoring touchdowns recently in like the first half of games. In the second half, they haven't really needed him, or at least against the Cardinals, they didn't go there. So I need some second half fantasy points, Tyler Warren, but those two are going to stand out. Mason Taylor, if you somehow want to play a Jet as the lone Jet left, 3.4. Did you see Juwan Johnson down at 3.1?
Man. Remember the first 3 weeks?
Oh, I'll never forget those weeks.
Neither will he. Career highlights. Taysom being back isn't good.
I know he's been banged up too, but it's like you go on a couple of good first dates. You're like, oh, this is pretty good. Really quickly, you realize like this ain't it. I took a girl out on a first date in college. Guess where I took her?
Chili's.
Yes, I took her to Chili's. Don't mind the fact that I also took my wife there. Future date. Conversation was fine.
It's always the first place Kyle goes.
I know. Conversation was great. And then afterwards, after the date, we're going to hang out with some of my friends. And I quickly realized like, oh no, this isn't good. This isn't like, I didn't enjoy her company around all of my friends. So I never went on another date again. That's Juwan Johnson right now.
11, 9, 8 targets in the first 3 weeks. 3, 4, 2 in the last 3 weeks.
Not good.
Not great. Yeah, I think there's a lot of other options down there that you don't have to force it with Juwan. Harold Fannin, if we have no David Njoku, is 3,900. Dylan Gabriel's been targeting tight ends like crazy against the Dolphins. And then, like you mentioned previously, talking about the Chiefs game, Michael Mayer will be the guy again this week. Brock Bowers will not play, so you get him at 3,500. Had a pretty nice game last week, so I could see people going right back to him.
Yeah, and then let's just mention Trey McBride. I feel like he's kind of gotten lost in the shuffle this week, but if Marv's out, I think he's worth a click as well. On defense, the Chiefs are the high-priced option at 3,700. They create a ton of pressure, and I don't know if you know this, Geno Smith is a shell of who he used to be. So in terms of upside, I think the Chiefs are a really solid play. In the middle range, I really like the Browns at home against the Dolphins, 3K. I think that's a solid option. But if you want to punt and you want to lean further into your takes bets, you have the Panthers here.
2,500? How bad could it be?
You know what? This team, those Panthers, when they are at home, they are really good. They can shut you out.
I cannot believe that happened. I still cannot believe that happened. How does the same team beat the Bills and then not score a single point against the Panthers?
It wasn't just they beat the Bills, like their defense was dominant.
They pretty much led the entire game.
Yeah, I was there. It was great. Everything was awesome.
I saw you swag surfing. I saw you swag surfing, Kyle.
We did have a really cool halftime concert from Jeezy.
Oh, cool.
Dude, so many, I mean, I don't know if people understand Atlanta. So many rappers showed up. Big Boy. We had Bow Wow show up. Luda wasn't there. He's usually always there, but Luda wasn't there.
So he's an ATL guy.
Yeah, dude. I mean, come on. What a crew here. If you want to play with us, go to ballersdfs.com, our DraftKings League, Fantasy Footballers DFS, Borg, and Betz. We'll have a Thursday night contest this week where the Steelers play the Bengals in a football game on TV that you and I have already paid for, and you will watch it. So, but we'll have a Thursday night contest up. Betz will have that written up in the DFS Pass. Betz, sign us off.
Yes, sir. That will be up probably Thursday morning, previewing Aaron Rodgers and Joe Flacco. This is going to be great. And then we're back on Friday, obviously, to preview the main slate, talk about some props, all those good things. We'll catch you then. Have a good week.
Thank you for listening to another edition of the Fantasy Footballers DFS and Betting Podcast. Don't forget to visit us on the web at thefantasyfootballers.com.